Nothing is promising to be a real bruising contest in the coming general election like the governorship of Nairobi County, home to Kenya's capital city and the nerve center of all the arms of government. It is the epitome of power, and the governor will control immense power, money and influence. Some of the prevalent men with the deepest pockets are arming themselves for a battle royale. It is certainly going to be a tough race, and Dr. Evans Kidero, whom I host today, the immediate former boss of Mumias Sugar Company, is one among those who have expressed interest in this contest. Thank you so much, Daktari.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah. We're very happy to have you on our show today.
My pleasure.
Who exactly you are when it comes to Nairobi politics and as you contest for the governorship of Nairobi?
Thank you very much. I think, first and foremost, probably needs to be clear that the job of the governor of Nairobi, even though the process of election, the process of getting into it is political, but the job itself is a service provision job, is a performance job, is a management job, and in short, is a CEO's job, like managing a public enterprise or a public company. The resources involved are fairly immense. We'll be talking of 40 billion plus, so it certainly requires somebody with the necessary background, with the necessary resolve, with the necessary drive, and with the necessary moral and emotional orientation to manage the diverse requirements of the Nairobi people.
What would you count as the greatest achievement you've made in the company you served as the immediate former boss, that is Mumias Sugar Company?
Mumias Sugar, I joined Mumias 9 years ago. They had made a loss of 500 million. And within the years, their profits have grown in leaps and bounds. It was a company that depended on one product, which is sugar. We, over the years, I did fortify the future of the company by increasing the capacity of production from what was 340 tons of cane per hour to 380 tons of cane per hour. I built a power generation plant using bagasse waste. I was instrumental in the signing of the first ever carbon credit, not only in Kenya, but the whole of Africa, which will pay off the investment on the investment on power generation. The next thing I've done is we used to produce 100,000 of molasses, which was going to waste. I did build an ethanol plant that will produce about 25 million liters of ENA, extra neutral spirit.
And when you look at some of your political foes, they are campaigning on a platform that you are an intruder from outer space rather, and that you don't understand Nairobi as a county and even the people in Nairobi County, and by extension maybe the plights that the people of Nairobi County have. And so this is a perception that they are creating to the potential voters, maybe to those people who are going to maybe to vote for you. How can you counter this brand?
I think, I'm not in a position of responding to myopia. Myopia probably is a technical term for short-sightedness. Yeah. I was born in this city many years ago. I won't tell you when because that's not irrelevant. I went to school here. I was in Mangu High School where I did my A-levels. Then I studied pharmacy at the University of Nairobi and got a Bachelor of Pharmacy degree, and then worked at the Ministry of Health, and later on in several pharmaceutical companies, ending up as a managing director of GlaxoSmithKline, covering 40 African countries, both East, Central, and West Africa. Thereafter I was the managing director of Nation newspapers, a job I did for 3 years, up to 2003. Then I have been with Mumias Sugar Company for the last 9 years. My contract comes to an end September this year, but I did leave on the 29th of June. I have worked not only in Kenya, not only in Nairobi, but I've worked the whole of Africa. I've worked internationally. So my experience is broad. It covers more than Kenya, probably an experience which is by way far superior.
It's therefore by clarifying that you understand Nairobi as a county.
I understand Nairobi very well, extremely well. I've lived here, I've worked here. My investments are in Nairobi. So I understand Nairobi very well. And I don't take it for granted that I know Nairobi as a city. I'm talking to the people who live in Nairobi. And the interest of the people in Nairobi, the massive poverty that in this city needs to be tackled by way of job provision, by way of enterprise development. The second thing is our health system needs to work. We don't have sufficient health facilities and we don't have sufficient health resources. It needs to be looked at. The third thing is our educational system.
What are your possible selling points in this contest?
Academically competent. That goes without say. Two, the second thing, I'm technically competent. The third thing is I care about the plight of Nairobians. Nairobi ran very well in the early years after independence. Population rising from 350,000 to current 4.5 million during the day and 3.5 million at night. We do not have sufficient water for Nairobi residents. The 500,000 cubic meters that is pumped, half of it is unaccounted for at the end. If this was made available, we would either reduce the cost or we increase the level of availability of water. The second thing, there are no sufficient schools. The teacher to student ratio is very high. The third thing, our health facilities are not sufficient. They do not have drugs and they do not have manpower. The fourth thing, our infrastructure is dilapidated. The city needs to be decongested. The transport system needs to be revamped. Nairobi needs a mass transport transit system, an environment where the city is clean, sewers are not running through schools like we do. Security is a big issue, and we look at that. I mean, the man security, increase that. Currently, the government cannot provide us with sufficient policemen. We will look at converting the city inspectorate into a metropolitan police, and we'll supplement this with electronic security system.
I think it's certainly your maiden venture into politics, especially coming to a very competitive Nairobi County to vie for governorship. How are you finding the ride so far?
Now, what I find is a lot of subjectivity, which obviously is totally uncalled for. The other day, I went to certain constituencies where I walked 16 kilometers. And yesterday, I was in another constituency where we walked 10 kilometers. But you find certain people calling and saying, no, so-and-so should not be allowed to be there. What's wrong with people having access to their leaders so that they can listen to their leaders and know who makes sense? But because probably these people are bankrupt of issues and ideas, they try to stop the Wananchi from being told what the truth is, what they should expect. The Nairobians are speaking with one voice. They are saying that what we want is a leader, because the person who will be governor will look after every Nairobian, irrespective of from which part of Kenya they are from, which tribe they are from, which party they are from, or which religion. What they need is a competent leader. And I think the resolve of Nairobians are very, very strong on that. And that encourages me. These people probably who are not as competent are afraid that if Wananchi get to know what is required and the kind of person who needs to be elected, then their candidature probably will not see the light of day.
Some of the critics argue that maybe when you are at the helm of affairs at the company, your immediate company you serve as the CEO, that you brought the company down as in terms of its performance. For example, when you came there like barely 4 or 5 years ago, the shares used to value at around 60, and now it's around 5 shillings. So how do you counter this?
When I joined Mumias, the shares were a shilling and 20 cents. And the profits was, they were making a loss of 500 million.
Actually, it's you who took it up.
I'm the one who took it up, and the shares went up to 60. Yeah. Then what we did is we offered a bonus share, one for every 3. Naturally, it was 4 shares to 1 before. So the value obviously came down, the value should have promotion come down. But also the performance of Nairobi Stock Exchange came down from an index of 6,000 to 3,100, 3,200. So all shares are down by half.
Very well, we've just come to the end of GBS Panorama interview. My guest was Dr. Evans Kidero, an aspirant for Nairobi County governorship come the next general election. He says he has every aspect to drive him and to drive the agenda of Nairobi to the next level. Let's see how the political wave is going to unfold come this general election and whether he's equally placed in the right position to clinch to this seat. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much.
It has been a pleasure to host you.
Thank you.
We wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.